All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Amy Morgan. Can everyone hear me? Am I good to go? All right, I am a volunteer with the League of Women Voters of Salt Lake, and I am so happy to be here tonight. It's a real treat for me. I was raised in Cottonwood Heights, and Whitmore Library is the library of my childhood. So I haven't been back in many, many years, so this was really fun for me, believe it or not. And I really appreciate you all joining us this evening. Candidate forums are really important. Forums like this remind us that of something really vital in our communities, and that's that democracy only works when people are informed and involved, right? Both those things. That's what we really need for it to work. And that casting a vote is important, but even more so, making sure that your vote is an informed one and is what gives democracy its strength. Okay, and that's why we're here tonight. Right, we're here to do that. We're gathered here so that each of us can learn more about our candidates and candidates for Cottonwood Heights Mayor and for the City Council Districts 3 and 4. And we're going to learn about their priorities and their vision for our community. Next, I want to give our sincere thanks to all the candidates, first and foremost, for being here and giving up their time and sharing their ideas with us. And running for public office. I don't know if any of you have done it or thought about it, and if it's as terrifying to you as it is to me. It takes a lot of courage to do, right? And it's something that we should all appreciate just in and of itself as a brave act. And so I want to thank you for doing it. Okay. Thank you again. So throughout the forum this evening, you're going to hear directly from the candidates. They're going to be sharing their statements, respond to questions, discuss their visions, and share their policy proposals. And this is your opportunity to gain a clearer understanding of how the candidates plan to address challenges in the community as well as opportunities in the community. So I encourage you to listen actively, take notes, consider how each of them answer the questions and share their views, and how well their views and plans align with your own values and priorities. Right? Your participation in the forum is crucial to ensuring a transparent and democratic process. And I am pleased now to introduce our moderator for today's event. Tina Hose is a former vice president of program for the League of Women Voters of Utah. Among her many, many roles in the league for the past 17 impressive years, Tina has supported the research teams and team leaders who produced the 2022 election procedure study, the 2023 Guns in Utah Firearms Legislation and Resident Safety Study, and the 2023 Current Water Issues in Utah report. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Tina.
Thanks, Amy. I'm hoping we don't have any feedback going on. Is there feedback that's bothering you? You're okay? Great. I am Tina Hose, and I did serve as the Vice President of Program with the Salt Lake League, and currently I'm sitting on the Utah Board as a board advisor. The League is a nonpartisan political organization, and when we do our forums, we hold to our nonpartisan nature. So we ask the audience not to cheer or jeer or hold side conversations or engage in any other disruptive behavior during tonight's event. Applause will be held until the end of each group of candidates finish their presentations. And of course, if you kindly silence your cell phones now, we all would really appreciate that. Thank you. The opportunity to hold this event with Cottonwood Heights mayoral and council candidates came up a little later in the league's forum programming, which resulted in unavoidable schedule conflicts for Mayor Wickers and council candidate Ernie Kim. However, both candidates have a representative here tonight to read the candidates' statements. Mayor Wickers' representative is former city council member Nicole Omer, and Mr. Kim's statement will be read by his daughter, Annabelle Kim. A little bit more on how the program will run this evening, format. The event will have two formats. Mayoral and Council District 4 candidates will provide 10-minute statements addressing 3 identified Cottonwood Heights topics of concern. Council 3 candidates will be in a panel format addressing 3 moderated questions and 2 consolidated written questions from the audience. We have a timer to make sure I and our candidates stay on track. And Peggy Small will provide our 10-minute statement candidates with notifications of when they have 5 minutes, 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining, and a final stop. And our Council 3 candidates will get intermittent notifications on their 2-minute responses, 30 seconds, and a stop. Regarding questions tonight, as a part of tonight's forum, there will be no direct candidate questions. However, if you do have a question for Council 3 candidates, please obtain a note paper and pen from League staff over there by the door. Write down your question for Mr. Newell and Mr. Brazen and return your question to the League staff. They will consolidate similar questions and provide me with 2 or 3 questions, depending on what time permits, to ask the panel. So let's get started, okay? First, we will have our mayoral candidates. Your mayoral candidates are Galen Benyon and incumbent Mike Wickers. Nicole Omer will read Mayor Wickers' written statement. Each person has 10 minutes for introduction and to address the 3 identified topics of concern of Cottonwood Heights residents. Topic 1, how would you address the rising cost of municipal services? Topic 2, how would you ensure that development of the gravel pit promotes quality of life for Cottonwood Heights residents? And topic 3, how would you provide for available and affordable housing? We'll start with Ms. Benyon, 10 minutes for introduction and response to the topics. Benyon.
Thank you. I'm so happy to have this opportunity to help you know who I am and how I got involved as a politician or as a public servant. I grew up here in Mill Creek. I graduated from Skyline High and BYU. My husband he wanted to become a physician, and the route that he took was through the Air Force. So he served 26 years in the Air Force, and we moved around with him. We have 4 adult children born in 4 different states. Now, that is not the route I would have dreamed of for being a parent, but it provided me with many opportunities for growth. As we moved around the country and I had to help our family make new connections, and it helped me be an independent, strong, confident person. We moved back here to Utah in 2012, and I had the fantastic opportunity of a friend introducing me to Women's State Legislative Council of Utah. That group is 105 years old, and it is bipartisan. And if we think about that for a moment in this time, 105 years of women and men across the aisle working for solutions, for better policies for our state. So I served in this volunteer position as a leader there for 7 years, and it changed me. My interactions with the women and men in that group, what I learned from them and what I learned about our state. I also volunteered for 1 year with the group Moms Demand Action for Guns. 80% of Utahns support universal background checks. It's this common sense policies that group advocates for. So by the time in 2020, people asked me to run for office. And I was prepared because of my experiences with those groups. It was not something I had ever planned on, but I was prepared because of those experiences. So for the past 5 years, I am serving now as your state representative. And I love that service. I focus on housing and water. These are the crises issues for our state. They are the things that are holding us back in many ways and threaten us in many ways if we can't address them. However, as we approached the filing time for this office, no one else had filed for mayor. And I had been thinking about running because short-term rentals have been an issue I've been working with residents for 4 years. And the city is coming along, but at a pretty slow pace. And there's other issues that I see I can help with. Now I'm going to talk about those 3 questions. The first one is the cost of the increase for municipal services. This happened because of the pandemic is part of what increased those costs. We see that we are paying more for our first responders, their wages. And I think in some part this was overdue because they provide such important services for us as a community. We want to make sure that we're paying them adequate salary and benefits. And we saw that for all of us, our housing, our fuel, everything has gone up, and that's the same thing that the cities are finding. The way that I think we can help address this is through us as a city becoming more and more resilient. The county has a hazard mitigation plan, and Salt Lake and Mill Creek are part of that in active work to see where they can reduce vulnerabilities and make their community more resilient. We can do that here in Cottonwood Heights. I also want us to think about what it means to thrive rather than just have more growth, more development. Thriving is having clean air and water and giving high values to those things. That improves our health, so we're reducing our costs. It can improve our environment if we're better treating our environment. And another thing I'm going to talk about is the gravel pit and how we can ensure that that development benefits our city. We know that that will bring more transportation, more traffic to our area to have some good amenities there. And as I talk with residents, I hear that they would love for us to have not a big parking lot there at the gravel pit, but regional bus service, bringing people for the ski season in buses already so that they're not adding more traffic and more pollution to our area, that they're coming in public transportation more to reduce that impact. For the gravel pit also, I have talked with past leaders of our city that were not happy to see the current council give approval for a 12-story building in that north section that has been approved. The past standard for the city was 6 stories. So we want to make sure that development doesn't overwhelm the beautiful community that we have, that it's appropriate for all the seismic and geologic conditions. Our city has a very good sensitive lands standard already in our code, and we need to hold on to that and follow that to make sure that the development is not going to be something that we regret because of things that happen in the future. Also, financially, I would want to ensure that development always benefits us as taxpayers. We've had kind of too close of a relationship between some of our city in the past and development, where we see in the city Canyon Center development, our city gave 7.7 with the county of tax benefit to that development. And what have we seen for us as a city? We see a parking lot that is empty most of the time. We see a park that is not developed, yet we gave that much to a developer. So I want to ensure that development benefits us and not just developers. And then for housing, I'm very excited to talk about housing because this is an issue that I have studied and worked on at the state level for 5 years. So to add accessible, affordable housing is going to take us having some important conversations, because too often when there's going to be higher density, we push back. We don't want it near us. We're afraid it's going to add congestion. It's going to add crime, when really the statistics don't show that for crime. And if we plan correctly, and add walkability, it might not have to add it for the traffic. So we need to have conversations with areas where there's land available and where there might be redevelopment, so that citizens can look at some options and get behind them rather than pushing back. When we push back on development, it adds to the cost, years for the development to actually happen. And that's impacting our schools where we see them closing up because we have not been progressive in finding ways to add more housing that's affordable in our city. So one of the plans I'm very excited about is called Flex Ready Housing. This is 7 individual homes on 1 acre. That is very different than anything that we have in our city, but that is 3 bedrooms, 1.5 baths in these homes. They have an alley in the back for the parking. They are building these homes in other parts in our state. The builder doesn't add the garage. The owner can do that later. These homes cost $300,000. That is affordable. So there are other options like this that we need to be looking at as a city if we don't want to see our city get even, older and not have younger people coming. ADUs are another way that we can add more housing. So and our city allows them in many areas, and we need to, I just got an email from someone kind of unhappy about that. We need to have ongoing education to help people understand this is a way to add housing, and they need to have the adequate parking and other things so that it's not a negative impact. And I'm impressed I still have time. So my other thing I'm excited about is that I know all of you. I have 1 more minute. And you are amazing. This is my 4th campaign in 6 years. So I have been at your doors. I have received your emails. You are brilliant, educated, experienced people. We have many good city committees. We could have a few more that could help us. I've already talked with a gentleman who has been involved with the mitigation program up in Summit County, and it can help our city. That's another way we can kind of lower our costs, is by fully utilizing all of you. And I just want to kind of unleash the power and the brilliance of all of you by having you even more involved as citizens. Thank you.
Okay, next we will hear from Nicole Allmark.
I know Mike and I don't look a lot alike, but I hope you can hear his voice as I read his statement. Before I jump into that, I know that he would want me to thank you for being here. One of the things that he enjoys most about being mayor and also campaigning for mayor is meeting you individual and hearing your stories and learning about your lives. So thank you for making the time. Right, thank you to the League of Women Voters for organizing this event. I sincerely regret not being able to be with you in person. I have spent the last 24 years living in what is now the city of Cottonwood Heights. It is where I have raised my family and established a home in our community. My wife and I were blessed with 6 children that spent the majority of their lives in our great city. We also have 6 grandchildren, 3 of whom currently live in our city. From getting a first-class education in our schools, spending time with friends at the Cottonwood Heights Rec Center, and hiking our foothills and canyons, their lives were enriched, just like all of ours are, by all that the area and the community offers. The blessing of living in this amazing city is one of the reasons I felt the call to give back. Volunteering my time to serve on the city's emergency management committee was a way for me to participate and see how a city works to improve the lives of its residents. I spent years volunteering my time with our youth so that they could have opportunities to build bonds with one another. Whether it was coaching through youth sports or leading church group activities, through these opportunities, I was blessed to have the opportunity to build our community. 5 years ago was a different story in our city. Cottonwood Heights was in turmoil. Demonstrators showing up at the city hall, protesting the brave men and women in our city's police department, created a sense of urgency for me to do even more. When I decided to run for mayor 5 years ago, my first campaign priority was to make sure our police department and its officers would know that I would have their backs, both in word and deed. I'm grateful that I've had the opportunity for 4 years to demonstrate that commitment to them as we've become one of the safest cities in our state. I'm running for re-election to continue that support and to continue to provide sound financial leadership. To the 3 topics. First, the rising cost of municipal services. Cottonwood Heights, as we all clearly know, has not been exempt from the inflationary pressures of the last few years. Is anyone surprised when you go to Target and put in 3 things and it costs $100? Everything we do today costs more than it did 4 years ago. I am proud of the fact that the answer to this problem for our current council was not to raise taxes. We evaluated all of our department budgets, made cuts in some areas, and increased efficiencies in others. We took a hard look at what essential services our city should be providing to our residents. The list included public safety, infrastructure, roads, stormwater, and snow plowing our streets in the winter. Being prepared in times of emergency and helping to improve safety on our roads for pedestrians have all been priorities for which we have invested our residents' tax dollars efficiently and effectively. As I've been campaigning the last few months, I have talked with so many seniors on fixed incomes that have pled with me to do everything possible before raising taxes. The answer cannot always be to ask our residents to pay more. I'm grateful that over the last 4 years, we have not raised your taxes. Instead, we have one of the lowest rates in all of Salt Lake County. My pledge is to continue to do all I can to ensure fiscal responsibility. The second item I was asked to address is ensuring that the development of the gravel pit promotes quality of life for our residents. As the 180 southern acres of the gravel pit move toward development, the city has a statutory responsibility to listen to and evaluate all proposals and applications that may come in from current or future property owners. Whatever does get submitted, we will require traffic studies to ensure that Wasatch Boulevard does not become overwhelmed with more cars than it can handle. I hope to pass the most restrictive land ordinances in the entire state, and we will ensure that whatever gets approved adheres strictly to those standards. Development on this site must enhance the beauty and uniqueness of our canyons. And I believe that strong leadership is needed to ensure that we adhere to these principles, making sure that this property is an added benefit to all of our residents. Okay, the last item. This was a lot shorter when I practiced it, I swear. It's to provide affordable and available housing. While I do not believe that a city's role is to subsidize housing costs for its residents, I support state and federal initiatives for first-time home buyers in our city. As a city, we do have the ability to help increase supply, ensuring that more families have the opportunity to call Cottonwood Heights home. Again, thank you for being here today or listening online. Is this being broadcast virtually? Oh, wonderful. Hello. I feel like I spend my life on online meetings. So I apologize once again that I can't be with you in person this evening. We'd again like to thank the League of Women Voters for organizing this event. I look forward to the next 4 years, continuing as mayor of our great city, and ask for your vote to help ensure we stay one of the most desirable places to live in the country.
Applause for our mayor. Okay, now we will hear from Council 4 candidates, Ms. Ellen Burrell and Mr. Ernie Kim's representative, Annabelle Kim. Same question format for Council 4 candidates. As a District 4 council member, how would you address the rising cost of municipal services? How would you ensure that the development of the gravel pit promotes quality of life for Cottonwood Heights residents? And how would you provide for available and affordable housing? We will start with Ms. Burrell. 10 minutes to introduce yourself and respond to the topics.
Thank you. My name is Ellen Burrell. I know many of you in this audience, and that's a privilege and an honor. It's been an honor to serve District 4 constituents these last nearly 4 years. As many of you know, I've lived in Cottonwood Heights for 39 years. I am a transplant from Southern California. And in my formative years, I watched my beloved orange groves that surrounded our house be mowed down for one tract of suburbia after another. I actually lived there when Orange County was considered a bedroom community. So you can imagine when I came to Utah at the ripe old age of 24, I thought, wow, this is an amazing place where its relative, small population made me feel like I could really stand out and contribute. And I have had a wonderful go of it. I've worked for about 24 years in the industry that we call the convention industry of Salt Lake County. I worked arm in arm with the Salt Lake Convention and Visitors Bureau. We have one of the executives of that organization with us in the audience today, Pat Holmes. And so I traveled around North America, sometimes around the world, talking about Utah, why Utah and why Salt Lake County. And then ultimately we get to why bring business, and that would be meeting business up into the mountain of Snowbird. And why I'm telling you that is that those decades of reaching out on a business level to decision makers on why Salt Lake is such an amazing place to live. And of course, here in Cottonwood Heights, we have it all. We have the location of being right up against the mountains. This is something so special. I don't take it for granted. It's very similar to Southern Californians wanting to live along the ocean. Well, here in Cottonwood Heights, those mountains are oceanfront property. We all live in a very valuable place. And so why I got particularly interested and ended up running for the District 4 seat is that I was very dismayed to find out that certain leaders within Utah wanted to see the foothills of our beautiful area become a 5-lane highway. And this is unacceptable for all of us who see that we live in the gateway to Big and Little Cottonwood Canyons. This is something so precious that we need to protect. And so my initial reason for running had to do with protecting us from high volume and high speeds on our roadways, and particularly in our foothill area. And what I've come to discover, which I've always known, in fact, when I first lived in Cottonwood Heights, I lived in the Hill Rise apartments. So I know what it is to live in an apartment, to own a home. I know that we have many people in our community who are on fixed incomes, and that's not just our seniors. We may be one of the most gentrified cities in Salt Lake, but we also have people who are struggling to meet their mortgage and other expenditures each month. So have been, if you go back and listen to the city council meetings, you will find that I have been the voice consistently for all members of our community, from the most affluent to the most vulnerable. I plan to continue that. And so when I'm asked about these particular subjects, starting with affordable housing, I have consistently asked my council colleagues to look more deeply, to deliberate more deeply on how we can keep in our city, not only those who currently live here on modest means, but also first-time home buyers. This has been very important to me, and I will continue to look at the mechanisms that the state legislature is giving us to do the very kind of things that offer modest housing. It's important where it's located. We all know that we have limited transit in Cottonwood Heights, but affordable living is what we need to think about. Affordable living is mobility, housing, groceries, you know, there's many things, childcare, that our residents have to face. And so as a government, we have an opportunity to look for every policy, every kind of ordinance. And in many cases, we need to look at what we already have. The first thing I did before I ran for office was I studied every master plan that we've adopted in Cottonwood Heights. And there has been marvelous work done over these last 20 years. There have been citizen committees that have come up with marvelous vision for Fort Union Boulevard, for Wasatch Boulevard, for transportation, for a number of things. So what we need to do is, in my opinion, we need to see that our legislative arm sets the standards by which the city staff then is crystal clear on what their job is, whether it's public works, whether it's our planning department, our police. Each one of our departments needs to be very clear on exactly what the legislative arm expects them to accomplish. They're the experts on their individual departments and arenas. And I think that we have much to do in that area. I'm running again for office because I see now things that I couldn't see 4 years ago. And I would like to use my expertise and interact with the various citizens who consistently bring to me great observations, suggestions, and also knowing that we are subjected to both the state and the federal law. So while we do have some limitations, they also offer a lot of avenues that we need to make sure that we're exploring and really using. And so when it comes to the gravel pit, that of course falls in District 4. And so that's been in my backyard for a long time. I've lived in District 4 for, let's see, 29 out of the 39 years. And it's important that, well, the landowner certainly has, the right to look to, in a profitable way, sell off to a developer. The mechanisms that are in place, such as the sensitive lands ordinance that we worked on extensively during my term, and it's there to protect not only the city from litigation, but also for the safety of the public, and it also gives clear direction to the developer. So we can know that that is a mechanism in place for the development of that roughly 150 acres of the South Gravel Pit. One of the things we need to address is whether our vision for our city is to have 28-story buildings in that South Gravel Pit. Right now, the reason why everyone on the council except me voted to allow 14-story height in the North Gravel Pit project is because of a PDD, a planned development project that came before we did. This was something the previous administration put in place, and I see it as the responsibility of the current administration to evaluate and to make sure that what we are creating there is what our citizens want. Do we want what in the South Gravel Pit will become 28 stories? That's what we're on track for. So if anybody has a surprised look on your face, you need to ask about that. That's what we're cruising toward. I oppose that. I think we need to really think about what we want for that gateway. As far as the municipal sustainability, that I'm going to run out of time. So I will only say that really taking a much deeper look at the way we budget and where we put our priorities is going to be imperative going forward, because we need resiliency for our city. Thank you.
Next, we'll have Mr. Kim's representative, Annabelle Kim, has 10 minutes to read candidate Ernie Kim's introduction and responses to addressing the rising costs of municipal services, development of the gravel pits, and available and affordable housing. 10 minutes to read Mr. Kim's statement.
Hi, everyone. My name is Annabelle Kim. I'm Ernie's daughter, as was stated. He wasn't able to make it tonight, but he wrote me a statement. I'll just go through and read that. Good evening, friends and neighbors. My name is Ernie Kim, and I'm honored to be here tonight as a candidate for the Cottonwood Heights City Council representing District 4. Before I speak on the issues, I want to share a bit about who I am and why I'm running, because for me, public service has always been personal. I was born in South Korea, and my family immigrated to the United States when I was young. We came here with very little, a few suitcases, a few dollars, and a lot of hope. My parents believed deeply in the promise of hard work, education, and community, the same values that make Cottonwood Heights such a special place to live today. They taught me that the opportunity in America doesn't come free. It comes from showing up, working hard, and giving back. Those lessons have guided every decision I've made thus far in my life. I grew up right here in Salt Lake City, graduated from Highland High School, and went on to study political science and international relations at the University of Utah. After college, I was recruited into the United States Secret Service, where I had the privilege of protecting and serving several presidents, both Democrat and Republican. That experience taught me the importance of bipartisanship, professionalism, and integrity, qualities I believe that every public servant should bring to their community. In that job, you learn very quickly that success depends on teamwork, preparation, and calm leadership, even when things don't go as planned. Those are lessons that translate directly into effective local government. And tonight, I want to share 3 priorities that reflect that vision. Number 1, addressing the rising costs of city services. Every family in Cottonwood Heights is feeling the pinch of rising costs, whether it's groceries, utilities, or housing. Our city feels it too. In the cost of essential services like police, fire, road maintenance, and snow removal. These services are non-negotiable. We depend on them every day, but we also have a duty to manage them wisely and transparently. I believe that we can control costs without cutting quality by improving efficiency, accountability, and in how the city operates. That means regularly auditing our contracts and spending, making sure we get competitive bids, and investing in technology and training that help our staff to do more with less. Just as importantly, residents deserve to know where every tax dollar goes, not just during budget season, but all year long. I'll work to make our budget data easy to access and even easier to understand. Ooh, there was back on the other one. Because fiscal responsibility isn't just about cutting costs, it's about earning trust. During my federal service, I managed budgets and operations that required precision, oversight, and transparency. And I can tell you, accountability and efficiency aren't political talking points, they're management essentials. That's the mindset that I will bring to council as we protect our community's resources. Number 2, ensuring the gravel pit redevelopment promotes quality of life. The redevelopment of the gravel pit is one of the biggest projects in our city's history. Done right, it could bring new opportunities, new businesses, and a new life to our community. Done wrong, it could strain our roads, crowd our schools, and change the character of Cottonwood Heights forever. We need to do this one right. That means putting 3 principles at the center of every decision: transparency, balance, and community input. Transparency means residents should never be left guessing what's happening next or why. Balance means growth that supports our tax base without overwhelming our infrastructure. And genuine community input means listening before deciding, not the other way around. We can't treat our residents' concerns as a box to check. They have to be part of the process from start to finish. I support smart, mixed-use development that includes gathering spaces, supports local businesses, and respects our mountain views and open spaces. Cottonwood Heights can grow, but it must grow responsibly. Our decisions on this project will shape our community for decades to come. Let's make sure that growth strengthens, not dilutes, the qualities that make Cottonwood Heights special. Because preserving our peaks isn't just about mountains, it's about maintaining the beauty, peace, and identity of our city. Third, expanding affordable and available housing options. Housing affordability is one of the toughest challenges facing our region today. Teachers, first responders, young professionals, even our own kids are finding it harder to live in the city that they grew up in. We can't solve that overnight, but we can take meaningful steps forward. That starts with encouraging a diverse mix of housing options, things like townhomes, accessory dwelling units, and senior-friendly homes, while maintaining the character of our neighborhoods. We should work with developers, not against them, but always put our residents first. Development should serve the community, not the other way around. The goal is in Cottonwood Heights where our kids can afford to come back after college, our parents can downsize without moving away, and our workforce can live close to where they serve. That is not just a housing issue, it is a community issue. If we want to keep Cottonwood Heights strongly connected, we need to make sure that people at every stage of life have a place here. That's how we ensure an affordable future for everyone. In my years of public service, from Secret Service to the Bureau of Reclamation, and later in the private sector of leadership, I have learned that the best leaders aren't the loudest voices, but they're the best listeners. They don't seek the spotlight, they seek solutions. They don't divide people, they bring them together. That's the kind of leadership I want to bring to our city council. Listening, steady, practical leadership. Leadership that respects every viewpoint, focuses on results, and puts people before politics. Cottonwood Heights deserves a council that plans for the future while protecting what makes our city special. Our safety, our natural beauty, and our strong sense of community. So as you think about this election, I hope you remember my commitment to preserving our peaks, protecting our community, and ensuring an affordable future. My name is Ernie Kim, and I'm asking for your trust, your support, and your vote. I'm going to read the back of the page I just. Okay, so he was talking about Secret Service. After my time in the Secret Service, I continued my public service with the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation. There I learned to manage complex relationships between local communities, tribal nations, state leaders, and federal agencies, often on difficult water, land, and infrastructure issues. That experience reinforced for me that real progress doesn't come from headlines or shouting matches. It comes from collaboration, communication, and trust. That's exactly how I want to serve Cottonwood Heights, by bringing people together, finding common ground, and focusing on solutions that actually work. My wife and I have 3 wonderful kids. Our oldest son is currently attending the U.S. Air Force Academy. Our daughter is studying journalism and political science at the University of Utah, and our youngest son is a junior at Brighton High School. Like many of you, we chose Cottonwood Heights because it's safe, it's beautiful, and it's a place where families can thrive. We hike our canyons, we cheer on our local teams, and appreciate how the city balances the quiet of the suburbs with the vibrancy of the valley. That balance between growth and preservation, between progress and quality of life, is what inspired my campaign's theme: preserving our peaks, protecting our community, and ensuring an affordable future. That's what this campaign is all about. Thank you, and thank you for caring enough to be a part of this community conversation tonight.
Thank you for that. We're now switching over to our panel format for the 2 gentlemen on the end representing Council District 3 candidates are Mr. Sean Newell and Mr. Grant Fraser. We will begin with candidate introductions, 2 minutes each, followed by 3 questions for our panel. Candidates will have 2 minutes to respond to each moderated question. In our continuing efforts to be fair, we will rotate who goes first in answering each question. Mr. Newell won the coin toss, and we'll start with Sean. Your 2-minute introduction, please.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for being here this evening. I just so appreciate the League of Women Voters for putting on this event, and for everybody coming out here on a Tuesday evening, but hopefully it won't be raining when we get outside. I've been here in Utah for 45 years now. I came here to attend school at the University of Utah where I played football. It was a tough decision to come here for a number of different reasons. First, I didn't know where Utah was. And second is it's not too far from home, but it was a little further than I thought where I would continue my football career. I was part of the second class of students to desegregate our school system in Southern California in 1967. And that's where I learned about the energy behind shifting situations and shifting and changing. Sean's done. And changing your environment that you live in, and also community. Community is what really helped change our environment when I was growing up as a young person. I've lived here in Cottonwood Heights for 37 years now. I was looking at my wife, but she didn't tell me. 37 years, I think, now 38. I have all my kids attended Brighton. I've got a granddaughter there right now who's an Acadian and having a great time. My life has been dedicated to service for a long time. I've served on the State Board of Education. I've served on the State Board of Higher Ed. I serve now still with our Supreme Court, a number of our judges in different areas. I am also involved in a number of different boards and committees. So for me, service is part of my DNA, and I hope to continue to do so.
Hello, everyone. My name is Randy Brazen, and I'm also running for District 3. Initially, when I decided to run, I had some free time on my hands, and I was using ChatGPT to Google things or search for things to do with my free time and to be of service to the community. And one of the items that came up was to run for office. And at first, I kind of brushed it off. But not very much long later, I got an email from a friend with a call to action and saying that there were several seats in the county that were open and that Cottonwood Heights had a couple of seats available. And I didn't think that one of the seats was going to be in my district, so I reached out to the reporter, and she advised that I was in District 3 and that Sean was running that post, and I didn't know Sean at all. But I just thought to myself, well, I can't possibly, skip this opportunity to run. And it will be beneficial for me and beneficial for the community to give people a choice, which is why I decided to run. I'm from Salt Lake. I lived in West Valley nearly my whole life, but the past 8 years, all but one have been between here and Holiday. I lived in an apartment community, Royal Farms here, but I also spent 2 years living at Pinnacle Highland, and if elected, I will be the first renter to ever sit on the city council, first LGBTQ member as well. I'm really excited for this opportunity, and I see a lot of opportunity here to create dialogue within our community. Some of the things that I'm hearing when I'm knocking on doors is that people don't feel like they're being heard. And if you notice, when the elementary school decision came with the school board, everybody's signs went up. And if you think about it, everybody who put a sign in their yard felt like they were involved in the decision. So that's one of the reasons I'm here.
I'll move over to be closer. Question number 1 will sound vaguely familiar with some details. The rising costs of municipal services, including police and fire, road maintenance, snow plowing, and city employee compensation, all are significant concerns for Cottonwood Heights leaders and residents. At the same time, revenue resources for the city, particularly from the federal government, have become increasingly uncertain. What is your plan for ensuring the ongoing quality of city services without putting an undue burden on taxpayers? You're first.
I really wish that I would have taken the road that Mr. Kim and the mayor went, but I think I'm a pretty girl to answer my statements. But in seriousness, I believe that we're not the first city to be faced with an increasing expenditures in terms of resources and plowing. And I think the biggest thing is that we need to bring in experts to kind of talk us through what it is that we're looking at, what cities have done differently in the past, and kind of come together and decide what would be best, bring that to the residents, and then decide as a quorum of individuals, if I'm elected, about how to proceed. I think it's really important that we continue to tap into our greatest resource, which is each other, and we can find common sense solutions to these problems, that it's not a guessing game. Thank you.
This is a tough question. It's not the tough question, but it's a tough situation we're in. This is happening nationally. I talk to representatives that are on councils across the country, because of some of the those issues be with us for quite some time. We have to, as citizens, have a louder voice all the way up to our state level to say we need their voices to help demand that we can bring in more revenue for not only the state, but for our municipalities. This is going to be something that we all are going to be involved with. This is a constant fight, but for me, I'm really too frugal. I'm going to carry that over and continue to do that with our budget in our city, but to do it in a very conscious way.
Question number 2 is about where you stand on development plans for the north and south gravel pits near the mouth of Big Cottonwood Canyon. The decision to allow a 14-story, my notes say it was 14-story, apartment complex on the north property has already been made, but incoming city council members will have a say in the next 4 years about plans to develop even higher habitable structures on the south gravel pit property. Do you think this is a good or bad plan for Cottonwood Heights, and why?
For me, one of the things I'll explain to everybody about the gravel pit so far, the tallest building in the gravel pit has been pushed abut the side of the mountain. So it's a very back end to not disrupt view sheds and the environment that we have here right now in Utah. And that was done purposefully so that we don't have the neighbors from Holiday and everybody else being impacted in a very negative way. When we look at the next phase, this tall building that everybody's talking about, I had no idea that that was a consideration. But under my watch, I just have to fight against it. I just cannot see a tower being put up against one of our beautiful mountains where it will actually change the view shed that we have there currently. So for me, looking at the gravel pit, it's a necessary development. We've done a lot to make sure that we mitigate issues with the fault lines. We've even had to cut off a corner of one of the apartment buildings that they're gonna put there. And the developers were very amenable to that. They said, hey, we're willing to do this work for you. But when we look at tall buildings going up in that area, that's something I'm gonna fight against. I'm not gonna fight against something that's reasonable, but I'm gonna fight against something that's skyscraper. Okay, as long as it's not being get in trouble. I'm gonna fight against something that becomes a skyscraper that's gonna mess up our view shed. Just like any other development, we have to look at the impact that it's gonna have on our community with the traffic. We have to think about the necessity for housing and where we can find and mitigate the cost for some people that want to be residents of our, community. So this is gonna be something that we're gonna be working on very, very hard in the near future. And I'm hoping that your voices are heard as we start to work through this plan.
You know, I unfortunately don't know very much about the gravel pit, but what I have heard is that it's a danger seismically. And I have heard that potentially goes against our community standards. Some things that have already been set in our master plans and have yet to be adopted by the city council. So my hope is that we would start there by speaking with the community, get community engaged, finalize those plans for the community standards, and then move forward with review for plans to develop. Those plans should be smart mixed use to encourage the revenue, tax revenue for the city to keep our property taxes low. Super important that we continue to enjoy the low tax rates that we have. But we can also raise taxes slightly and still enjoy those lower tax rates. So it's important that we utilize those potential funds while we continue to develop our city. Additionally, we shouldn't develop the gravel pit in a way that mitigates anybody else's or any other residents' enjoyment of the area. We should be thinking about our residents first. Thank you.
Linda, may I have the audience question up here, please? And we'll go on to question number 3.
Four questions on my 2 fronts. We have 3. One is for general, the other 2 for the mayor, so the mayor is not.
Cannot ask anything of mayor.
Thank you. Appreciate the help. Okay, question number 3. We've heard this as well. Housing is a complex issue in Cottonwood Heights. Some residents are calling for more affordable, attainable housing options, while others have opposed the high-density development that can bring housing costs down. What do you see as the tough decisions that you and your other council members will need to make to help balance these needs? Mr. President, you're next.
At our last city council meeting, it was mentioned in the working session that seniors should be able to live in place here in our community. They're the ones who put the time in, they're the ones who put the work in, and they should be allowed to stay and live their lives. And it occurred to me that we've got this major opportunity to develop our city center for those individuals by putting some senior housing there, to provide some tax breaks to those individuals, and then potentially use their properties in some sort of mechanism to provide less expensive housing to those folks who are moving in. So we don't have to close the elementary schools. So we don't have to create an environment where our city is unable to grow as effectively as it can where we are right now. I definitely think we should be thinking about options that support our senior community in terms of housing. And that's what I have. Thank you.
We are fortunate to live in a very affluent community. We have very high property values. This is a challenge for us as a council to be able to figure out how to provide low cost, even moderate housing. And it's a challenge that we are taking on every single day. One of the things that never seems to go down on this planet is the cost of land. One of the things we're also looking at is not changing the way that our community looks. Single family housing is not going to be the answer to our housing issue. We have to figure out a way to come up with multifamily housing that is a lot more cost effective. This is another area that we need help in from experts that live within our community to be able to develop plans and to be able to find out if there are resources out there that can help us to be able to navigate this situation. It's not going to change overnight. All of us, we all see our home values going up. It's astonishing to me when I talk to my kids, how wide their eyes get when I tell them about how expensive things are getting here in our city. But we also have the responsibility to look into and investigate opportunities for more inexpensive, I should say inexpensive, let's say moderate housing that could actually be utilized by people that come into our community. It's a challenge. I don't have the answers. I don't have the answers to a lot of things, but we're working on those answers to the best of our abilities so that we can make sure that we do the right things for our community and we don't fall into a trap that we can't get out of in the future.
Okay, we have two questions developed from the audience for Randy and Sean. If construction proceeds on Wasatch Boulevard on the Gondola project, what specific steps will you take as a city leader to protect our community's safety, speed limits, and cohesion so our neighborhoods aren't fractured by high-speed traffic or commuter pressure? We have going to Mr. President.
Thank you very much. So I think I should start with the gondola. I oppose the gondola. I think it's the most intrusive option that there is. I think it's reprehensible that the property for the 22 pillars that are going to go up in the canyon have already been purchased, and plans to develop those pieces of property are already being put in front of us before we even get to have a say. I think the majority of people do not want a gondola. I was speaking to another gentleman who said, you know, we have a finite amount of canyons that are like this canyon, and it's part of the reason people come to see us. And I think we should really be looking at the least intrusive option. Additionally, a term that I heard was sustainable yield a few days ago. And how many people can we put up that canyon before the resources run out? You know, at Alta and Snowbird, all of the water comes from an aquifer. And if we put too many people up that canyon, a couple of dry years, we're going to be trucking water up that canyon. It's not going to be good for anybody. So we need to think about long-term impacts. Additionally, with Wasatch, about 8 or 9 years ago, my grandmother was running, training for a half marathon, and she was killed by a car. She was exercising just like any one of us do, utilizing, you know, the walking paths and the bikeable resources that we have. And I think that we need to be really cautious about people who are using the amenities that our city has right now and turn to the residents to find out how we should develop that. And my opinion is that we have raised crosswalks, bikeable lanes, and guarded bike paths and walking paths along Wasatch with a reduced speed. Thank you.
I am against the gondola. I am against it for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons is that we as citizens and residents of Sullivan County are gonna have to pay for something we're probably not gonna use. I am really concerned about the ecological impacts that that's gonna have on our community. The traffic, and the traffic's not just gonna be on Wasatch Boulevard, it's gonna be on our other arteries. It's going to impact us in a negative way. I am working with folks at the state level to try to get some understanding of how we can come together and have a conversation about making this conducive to the neighborhoods and the folks that live here. And I'm fortunate to have those relationships, to be able to have those conversations with those folks. But we have to also realize that it is the privy of the state of Utah for Wasatch Boulevard. That's a state highway. We battle, we make noise, we do everything we can. Sometimes they're gonna do whatever they want to. I told the folks that I know, I do not want this to look like 84 going through Farmington, because that's what I think they're planning on doing. And I'm gonna fight that to the end to make sure that doesn't happen to our community to the best of my ability. We have the power to be able to push against both of those projects as a community. We have to step up. We have to be loud. We have to make sure that we're locking hands or we're having conversations with these folks so that they can see that we're serious about it first, and they can see that we understand the impact to our community, and to make sure that we make this still a livable place for those that are here in place right now. So for me, I'm counting on everybody in our community to help me with this fight, to have these conversations. If you have relationships, reach out to people, have the tough conversations, because this will impact us. I do not believe in double taxation. I do not believe in taxing people that do not get to use the services or the projects that exist, and this is one of those.
Ma'am, real quick, I'm sorry, I know I'm out of order, but this would be a great question to pose to the two mayoral candidates, especially with one who's in the state legislature, because I think UDOT has driven this bus, and I think we here deserve to hear from those candidates, what they, if anything, are gonna be able to do to stand up to UDOT on this particular project, because all of us are gonna be negatively impacted, and I already get.
I need to make a point of order. Shauna, can Galen address this? And
The League of Women Voters has really strict rules about their empty chair rules and rules about when one candidate isn't present and the other is. You are our nonpartisan brand is huge, but they will stay after. Please ask after. Talk to them after, call them, call Mayor Wickers, talk to Galen afterward, but we can't have them from the table. Sorry, it's our rules.
thank you for that. And do, please, talk to the candidates after as well. Another question is, Randy and Sean, what is your top priority, walk in the door, first thing you're going to do following the election, if you are elected?
My first thing is to kickstart the Hillside project. That has been an eyesore for our community for a long time. I want to see the revenues coming from that project to be able to support us financially as a community. And I want to make sure that our citizens have a place to be able to gather. That was the first project that I thought about when I ran the first time here for this office. And we've got to this point, it's amazing to me, the speed of government, but I've been encouraged by where we are now. We are taking the steps to get there, but that is something that's a passion project for me. It is something that's gonna bring so much to our community, and that is what I really want to emphasize. And I'll also include the speed on our residential streets. We can't dictate human behavior, but we've got to do something about people slowing down on our roads. We try our best. We have these conversations in council all the time. I do not know how to get to people's minds and hearts to understand that these are not just their roads, they're our roads. And for me, that's another really important issue.
I think, if elected, one of the first things that I would be encouraged to do is reach out to the community and say thank you. Definitely by engaging the community and ensuring that each person has a voice in the council meetings. One of my ideas for that would be a raffle system for each district to come and receive some sort of raffle prize just for showing up and being engaged. We got to find a way to get people engaged in the community so that decisions are not being made without the community involvement. I think that's really where it stands. When I knock on doors, people don't know what's happening with the development in the center of town, and they don't know what's going on with the elementary school. And so we definitely had an opportunity for that. So thank you.
Another audience question, how will you design Fort Union Boulevard for our city center? How will it be safe and supported?
I think there are a lot of opportunities we have with Fort Union, and I think the first one is to make sure it doesn't look like the west side. You know, there's a lot going on there. The traffic is really, really tough to get through, especially during rush hour. And as we're working our way up through these neighborhoods and the less densely built homes, we have an obligation to those communities and those people that live there to consider roundabouts and things that slow traffic down and bring people through. The last thing we want to do is have a major artery running right through our city and right past our beautiful towns that it's being developed. And so slowing traffic down and encouraging them to use that area by also building infrastructure that promotes walkability, especially between the north and the south sides of the city, is very important. And that may include raised sidewalks, bike lanes, and continuity between the north and south side of the city. Thank you.
Traffic is going to be an issue for us as we continue to grow. Fort Union Boulevard is a pass-through boulevard, and we have been doing traffic studies there. I believe that what's going to happen in that quadrant with 2300 East and Fort Union, some of these issues will be addressed, but we have some infrastructure there that are causing barriers for us. As you drive by, you'll see the enormous power lines. We found that some of those power lines can be buried so that we can mitigate having all of them there. But to be able to move those as part of the infrastructure means that there has to be some semblance of understanding with the property owners that are around there, that we have to use a little bit more of their space. Those types of issues have to be negotiated. These are things that we're looking at on a regular basis and trying to figure out the best avenue. And again, this is all of us that have to make this decision. This is all of us that have to have those conversations. It's gonna be tough to figure out how to do it, especially as you see the popularity of that city center starting to come to fruition and starting to grow. How do we continue to mitigate these things? And then also not impact the movement of traffic. I love people to be able to walk. I walk my dog all the time. I'm on these streets. I see the issues that we have. But we also have a lot of people that drive. Most of the people are driving. So we have to come to some understanding of how we can do both without becoming or creating burdens for either. And that's the challenge that we have before us. There's going to be some new ideas that come up here in the near future. I'm looking forward to hearing some of the ones that I haven't heard yet, but we're going to get there eventually. And it's just going to take some time to be able to grow through these growing pains. Thank you.
Do you support a wildfire management plan? Why or why not?
I do support a wildfire management plan, but we also have Unified Fire that has a plan in place. I actually worked with Unified Fire for one of our neighborhoods to the east in doing some fire mitigation, and we had a discussion with the residents there and actually did a walkthrough. There are plans in place and they have teams in place. They have people that are on these, on the fire departments that are trained to be able to handle the fire mitigation. One of the things that we have to think about is where the danger zones are. The one that we walked through, there is actually a swath of forest area. I call it forest area, but it's a hillside that's got a lot of brush to it. We stepped through there and told the residents exactly what was available to them and at no cost for mitigation. It would just take their time. For example, they could clear the brush, pull it down to the street, and the county, or I should say UFA, will actually come pick up that debris for those residents. So we have to do our part, as well as making sure that we understand what can and can't be done by Unified Fire, but they do have plans in place. They actually came to City Council last week, I think it was, the last council meeting, and explained what those processes are and how they do it. And we have to have continued conversation about it. We're in an area that there are flashpoints. People want to still do fireworks. You know, they don't understand that this is a desert and things are dry. We have to be careful about that. We have to be careful about doing it. We don't want to stop everybody's fun, but we have to be sensible. And these are the challenges that we deal with in governance all the time. Where there is no canned answer. Thank you very much. My time.
You know, I wish I knew everything and I just don't. And I am not educated enough in this area to have an educated conversation or to provide any, anything aside from what we have seems to be currently working. And I think if I were to be elected, I would work with the city council and the mayor to consult with people who are experts in this field to find out if what we have currently is effective and if there's anything more we can do. So thank you.
Let's hear it for the lightning round candidate. We will now conclude the evening with closing statements for those candidates who are present. We'll go first with Ms. Binion. Your 1 minute closing statement.
Wait, whoa, 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 we can't do that. I'm sorry, in fairness, they can't do that. Only these guys can make closing statements. Sorry, talk to them afterward. It's not fair. It's not fair.
Yeah.
Well, they had the whole, they had their statement.
One minute.
I won't take very long. I really appreciate that everybody's come here and I really am excited to be a part of this process. I really appreciate you all for coming and it takes a lot of guts to be up here and looking at Sean and looking at the candidates for mayor in the 4th district is incredible and the service that these folks have given to our community is invaluable. One thing that I do want to say in closing is I've knocked on a lot of doors so far and not as many as I probably should have. But the sentiment seems to be consistent. People don't feel heard and they're not really satisfied with what has taken place over the last 4 years. And I'm not saying that to put any disrespect on anybody's shoulders, but I am running to give you a choice. And you're welcome to choose me. I'd like it if you would. I'm sure my opponent would like you to choose him and I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you very much.
I take great pride in our city. I take great pride in our residents. I take great pride in serving our community. I said it before, I live a life of service. And we try to do our best when we're public servants. We try to make sure that we're considering everybody that lives within our borders. And for me, that's my passion. My passion is the youth. My passion are the seniors. My passion are all of you that are here tonight. It is important that we understand that this isn't just a position that I hold as a council member or that I want to hold for another 4 years. This is a position where I represent you. And that is the most important thing for me. Thank you.
Another round of applause for all of our candidates. Thank you for the opportunity for me to moderate tonight. Forums are so important to educate the community and inspire you to vote. So watch for your ballots and be sure to vote. Amy Morgan has some concluding information.
Thank you, everyone. We are just about done and we're just wrapping up. I did have a few last comments. I appreciate you all being here. And on behalf of the League of Women Voters, want to special thanks to the candidates for all their time, thoughtful responses, appreciate them being here. And let's see, I want to make sure I get everything. So I'm gonna look at my paper this time, make sure I catch it all. Oh yes, if you have any more questions for the candidates, and I know that there's some out there, we weren't able to get to them all. Please make sure to, reach out to them directly, visit their, reach out to them directly or visit their, social media pages. Each of them have contact information there. So you can get those questions answered and make sure that you're informed prior to casting your vote, okay? And want everyone to make sure that that vote is informed, that's the most important thing. And so make sure to do that. And then a special thank you to Tina for guiding the discussion in a really skillful manner, making sure that it was all done in a fair way that will allow us to explore all those topics that we're able to hit on tonight. And then lastly, wanted to thank all of you who were in attendance for giving up your evening, as was said, for this important discussion and for engaging, right, and paying attention throughout the evening. And the commitment to just this civic engagement process. Your presence here is proof that the civic engagement is alive and well, and we can lead to positive change in the community. For those who are interested, that seems really loud, folks, so I apologize if it is to you. For those that are interested in additional voter resources, be sure to check out the League's vote411.org website. It's an all-inclusive objective platform where you can find all sorts of information about tonight's candidates, their views, your voting information through the Vote 411's personalized voting guide. So it's an easy, quick place to get all sorts of information. Lastly, ballots went out in the mail today. So, ta-da, it's happening. It happened. Okay, so watch for them in the mail. All right, they'll be arriving soon. Make sure that you and your family and friends all have a voting plan. All right, get informed, get the information, make a plan, and just share that information with your family, friends, neighbors. Make sure they have a voting plan as well. And more than ever, your participation is crucial in shaping our community's future. So make sure that your voice is heard on November 4th. Thank you.